Thank you. The cycle of gun violence in the city this year has been relentless, time and time again. We've reported on someone who gets shot and then someone else who retaliates against that shooting, repeating the cycle.
So joining us now to talk about the gun violence epidemic is Dr. Inger Burnett-Ziegler. She's a clinical psychologist and an associate professor of the Feinberg School of Medicine at Northwestern University. Thank you so much, Dr. Burnett-Ziegler, for joining us. First question is, do you think that this violence should be treated as a public health issue? And if so, how so?
I think what we are experiencing right now with the spikes in gun violence and the trending increase in gun violence over the last several years absolutely is a public health crisis. I think one of the things that we need to recognize is the broad impacts that continued exposure to gun violence has on our communities. We know that individuals who have been exposed to gun violence often exhibit symptoms of traumatic stress, and that can look like impulsivity, emotional numbness, increased alertness and awareness to what's happening in communities that can contribute to some of these hair trigger responses. And it's important for us to identify folks who have been exposed to gun violence, who are having symptoms of traumatic stress, and provide them with the appropriate mental health treatment.
It sounds like you're saying exposure to violence just leads to more violence. I may be asking you to sign a kind of a rational explanation for what's inherently an irrational act, but time and time again, and we hear from folks who say, well, I don't understand, why would somebody shoot into a crowd? Why are kids getting shot? Young kids, innocent victims. I wonder if you have insight on the mindset involved in taking these huge and potentially deadly risks.
Yeah, so I think what you said is exactly right. We know that individuals who have been exposed to gun violence in the past have an increased likelihood of being involved in violence in the future. We also know that folks who have a history of aggressive and violent behavior are also more likely to be involved in gun violence. And one of the key symptoms that is important for us to recognize that's a part of this cycle of traumatic stress is that impulsivity. And so there isn't a rational response. People are kind of reacting or retaliating without reason, reacting spontaneely in these situations. And that is the piece of the mental health puzzle that is important for us to address.
Well, first of all, how do we stop that? And secondly, the mayor said today that violence is a symptom of people who don't believe that they have a future. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, so another, common predictor that we know is this idea of both hopelessness and pessimism about the future. And these are signs that we see showing up in individuals who are living in impoverished environments, who have fewer educational opportunities, fewer employment opportunities, and in turn feel that they may not have a lot to lose by being involved in these acts.
So, Doctor, how do you change that? How do you make a difference there? I mean, this is the million-dollar question that we've been asking for so long. How do we change this?
Yeah, and I think really a multi-pronged approach is important. We've been talking a lot about investing resources in under-resourced communities to give folks more hope and optimism about the future. We've been talking a lot about, increasing mental health access and identification of mental health issues in communities. And it's important to also think about other violence prevention programs, programs that are really thinking about restorative justice practices that are working with people in violent communities who have been involved in violent acts to provide an alternative aside from simply retaliation.
Dr. Inger Burnett-Ziegler from Northwestern University's Feinberg School of Medicine. We appreciate your insight. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.